Oh, okay.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Today's Restaurant News Networking Group at 9 o'clock. My name is Howard Appel. I'm the founder and publisher of Today's Restaurant News, and we are a group of vendors who are here to help each other grow our businesses. And if you're a restaurant owner, manager, or chef, and you're dealing with a problem or have a question that you need to try to get help with, we're here to help. And if you want to reach us, give us a call at 561 620-8888 or go to our website at trnusa.com. And while you're on our website, click on the tab that says YouTube and you can see videos of our prior meetings and some other videos. We have over 450 videos on the YouTube channel. And good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning. Fine.
Good morning.
I forgot to ask everybody, not next week, but the week following is the Memorial Day weekend. And I guess a lot of people are going to be taking off on Friday. So I wanted to ask, do you want to still hold a meeting? Raise your hand if you want to. Don't all answer at once. Nobody wants to come to the meeting the following Friday. All right, so we're not going to have a meeting.
I'll come.
And you, Ed.
I got two hands. Okay, see?
All right, so we'll cancel that meeting.
Sorry, Ed.
All right. So today we have a volunteer from the group to do a presentation, and Rick Israel is going to do that. So Rick, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Howard. First of all, I appreciate you letting me speak today on an important topic that a lot of people don't realize is available. In the insurance industry, our goal is to help spread the risk. But there's a risk that a lot of restaurateur owners and hospitality owners do not accept, and that's personal disability insurance. Usually when you see disability insurance, you only think of what we call short-term disability, which usually starts 8 days after the injury, and it goes for either 6 to 8 weeks, and then it turns into long-term disability, which in some cases can last as long as until you are the age 65, and then you go into Medicare. Problem is a lot of owners of businesses don't think about themselves. If you have a very good owner who takes care of their employees and offers some very good benefits, they're going to put their employees in front of themselves. And that puts the employer and the business of survival at risk if the employer does not have his or her financials ready to go in case they get disabled. So I put together a little presentation today, a little PowerPoint presentation to kind of show you the importance of it and what it is. So let me share my screen and let's pray this works. Okay, let me go here, let me go here, and let me go here. Oh, wrong button. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So what we're going to do here is protecting your business and income, and we're going to talk about the importance of individual disability insurance for restaurant and hospitality owners. So first of all, what exactly is individual disability insurance? It's insurance that replaces a portion of your income if you're unable to work due to illness or injury. It's designed to protect your personal finances when you can't earn a paycheck, and it's critical for self-employed individuals or business owners with no employer coverage. So why it matters is these industries do involve usually physical labor and very long hours. I remember when I worked in a restaurant when I was younger, yeah, you can work some pretty long hours, and it's a very physical job. I mean, I see some restaurant owners getting in there and doing the dishes and cutting and everything like that. And it's also very high stress which can increase risk of health issues. And many owners are vital to daily operations, and absence can severely impact the business. Okay, so let's talk about a few things called business overhead expense rider. So it helps cover the fixed operating expenses of your business if you become disabled and can't work. And what it covers is it can cover the rent or mortgage on your business location, utilities, electricity, water, and internet, employee salaries. Your employees need to get paid, because if they don't get paid, they're gone. Okay, they're going to find another job. And that's happened several times here in the Huntsville market, where the employees are no-show and the employees don't get paid, so they walk off. It helps cover the cost of office supplies, business insurance premiums, equipment leases or maintenance premiums. Okay, so there's a lot of overhead that has to be covered. Now, here's some risks that I understand can happen in the restaurant hospitality industry. Injuries from slips, burns, or overexertion, illness from long hours and exposure to public environments, and of course, financial exposure. The owner is unable to oversee or manage their operations. If an owner is out of work, who's going to run the business? Now, you hope that you've got a good manager running it, but at the same time, the owner still needs to know what's going on within the business. Okay, so let's talk about a real world example. Let's say a restaurant owner suffers a back injury and is out for 4 months. Their individual policy will only cover $5,000 a month to support personal income. And usually that starts 30 to 90 days after the a waiting period, and the rider begins reimbursing you monthly up to a certain maximum. So I don't want to get too much into the numbers, but if you have a restaurant owner who has a very nice lucrative salary and has a lot of bills, do you really think $5,000 a month is going to suffice and make sure that everything is paid? And we all know what the answer to that is. Okay, so features to look for in a policy: own occupation coverage definition, guaranteed renewable and non-cancelable terms, length of time benefits are paid, the elimination period, which is basically another terminology for the waiting period. Benefit amount covers 60 to 70% pre-disability income. Also make sure that you have a cost of living adjustment to match inflation. These are things that you can adjust if the cost of living goes up. And future increase options raises coverage as your income grows. You hope that you can make money, but if you keep making more money, but your policy is still low, you're not matching what you're making. So what's the cost of the policy? Premiums usually range from 1 to 3% of your annual income. Factors affecting cost are age and health, occupation. Restaurant hospitality jobs do equal higher risk. Coverage amount and duration. How long do I want it for? And how much coverage do I want? And once again, the riders, the BOE and the COLA. And of course, the elimination waiting period. You as the owner can adjust your own waiting period. Consequences without a policy: risk, lost income, which means no money coming in to cover personal expenses. Business disruption: restaurant, hotel may close or lose staff or customers. Increased debt: may rely on credit cards, loans, or savings. Selling assets: could be forced to sell the business or the property. Delayed recovery: financial stress can worsen health and slow healing. And finally, the family strain: dependents may suffer from lost financial stability, which then puts a financial strain on the family. So then the snowball effect starts. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to make the car payments? Okay, so Think about taking action. Evaluate your business risks and income needs. Consult a licensed insurer advisor and choose a policy tailored to your specific business and health risks. Remember to protect your livelihood with the right insurance. And if you have any questions, you can give us a call. It's a zero cost to call us to do a quick overview of what you have. You may already have a disability rider or disability insurance policy. It never hurts to have that reviewed to make sure that what you have matches your income. So quick presentation. So I'm here to answer any questions.
What do these things run typically?
It really just depends on the income and how much coverage you want.
No,
They're not inexpensive, to be honest with you, Steve, and that's why there's two reasons why a lot of business owners don't look at these right away is because the cost and the underwriting. Underwriting is extremely technical because of the type of risk it is. And of course, the cost behind it can be pretty expensive. But sometimes you got to look at outweighing the cost over the risks. I guess I was anticipating more questions. This is not a topic that somebody thinks about all the time, and maybe that's why everybody's kind of stunned.
is there an age limit kind of thing, or you can get it for any age?
So this is the kind of policy I mean, this protects the owner. It doesn't, and secondarily protects the employees if the employer is financially okay.
Correct.
I mean, going to select a restaurant to work for, I don't think any staff would ask that question. I don't
They
know.
don't usually, and I know that Chris and I have a common bond because, obviously he doesn't want to work with a company that's not going to offer benefits for their employees. He sees the value behind the benefits. Most of the time when you go into a business and you're reviewing their benefit options, one of the things we look at is short-term disability and long-term disability. And for employees, that's usually not very expensive. Okay. But the employer wants to take care. Now, the employer can go ahead and buy the long-term and short-term disability. But let's take, for instance, an employer that has $100,000, income. Okay. And he's going to get 60%, he or she's going to get only 60% of the pay over 12 months. That's only $5,000 a month. Now, most people who have $100,000 income are probably going to be driving a nice car. They may have a nice house. What bills do you pay on $5,000? It's not going to be enough. And so the employer, we recommend the employer look at an additional policy on top of that. So they have both policies. So once that 5,000 is up, then they have that two basic incomes coming in at the same time because you're purchasing an individual disability income along with the employer benefit. So you're not, a lot of people think, oh, well, I'm being overinsured. No, you're just right. Because then if you don't take it, then you're well underinsured and your business may not survive.
Tom, you have any comments about this?
Sir?
Well, I'm saying, Tom, do you have any comments about that?
Yes, I have a lot of comments. What he's talking about, what Rick is talking about, in the disability field, I don't sell disability myself as such, but there's a question we ask people. If you had a goose that laid golden eggs, would you insure the goose or would you insure the eggs? And what everybody does, they insure the eggs, the cars, the buildings, the jewelry, and all that sort of stuff. What's the goose? The goose is you. Your earning power. That's the goose. Your earning power is what produces all those jewelries and cars and boats and stuff like that. So what Rick is suggesting is that you insure the goose and not the eggs. Now, insuring the goose is expensive, as Rick said. As a matter of fact, it's very expensive because a lot of people get hurt, a lot of people get sick, especially working in the insurance industry. And that's where we come in our company, because as insurance people, why I'm so proud of the industry is that, all the other industries, they perform services. We in the insurance industry, we bring the money when you need it. A restaurateur gets sick and he's in the hospital. He had that stroke that Rick was talking about. And you see his stockbroker is in there, his lawyer is in there, all his other business friends in there, and everybody brings flowers, or they bring cards, or they bring well wishes. The only guy that walks in there with a check to take care of what Rick is talking about, what he's going to do while he is not able to work, the only guy that walks in with help for that is the insurance guy. Okay. Now, as we said, it's expensive to have that type of coverage. So what if you, and that's what the offer is to everybody on this call. And as I say, we're talking about the insurance people bringing money to the table. Well, I'm bringing money to our table here right now. What if you had the power to speak to your friends out there in the restaurant world, all the owners and so that you know all these different restaurants, and you are able to tell them this: I have a plan, or I know of a plan. Let's say it's a 50 unit restaurant that you're speaking to, a 50 employee restaurant. I have a plan here that would pay you $65,000 a year. You're going to have $65,000 a year more to your bottom line, but you have to do something for it. What do I have to do for it? Well, you have to institute this program for your employees that gives them a raise of about $100 a month, every employee, plus gives them a slew of health benefits for themselves and their employees, for themselves and their families. And let me tell you one of the health benefits that they get for free, by the way. This is free. Nobody's paying any money. Let me tell you one of the health benefits all those employees would get. Let's say they get sick or they get hurt and they have to go to hospital. Even if they had health insurance, the health insurance pays for the doctor, it pays for the hospital. This insurance pays them. So if they had to go to hospital, they hospitalize for 1 week. When they come out, they have a check waiting for them for $10,000 that they could spend any way they like. And that's free. So imagine you telling this owner, he gets $65,000 just for setting up a program to give his employees $100 a month raise, plus a slew of health benefits for themselves and the employee and their families. Now, so that's money for the employees, money for the employer. What about you that passed on the message? Just for passing on the message, you don't have to do anything. On a company like that, let me see, you would make $15 per employee every month. Not $15 one time. Multiply 50 by 15, that's $750. Not one time, that's every single month by talking to one employer where he doesn't have to buy anything, but he gets all these different benefits. Just what Rick was saying. It's expensive. Where's he going to get the money from to get that coverage that he needs? Well, if he did this, he would have $65,000 extra that he didn't have. That's why I'm so excited about what we do, what we're able to bring to the table, so that you guys out there that have the connections, that know all these people, think of it. Think of all the restaurants and other businesses you know, and how many employees they have. Add all those employees up and multiply by $15 per month. And that goes in your pocket, and you're not selling them anything. What you're offering to them is free. So, Norm, you asked me if I had anything to say to Rick, and that was my reply. Rick has the product that the restaurateurs need. What we have here is a way for him to pay for it. That's it.
Rick, I think
It's my story. I'm sticking to it.
you should stop. I never saw you speechless, Rick.
I'm just listening. I'm just sitting back.
But Rick, what I'm saying doesn't make sense.
Yeah, oh, yeah. No, it makes total sense.
You know, there's no point having a great product without the money. And this produces the money.
Yeah, maybe, I think my partner helps me do the disability insurance, and unfortunately, he's got two enrollments this afternoon for some policies outside of disability. But I think he needs to listen to what you have to say and see if that's something that we can talk about and at least tell our owners here what we've got available.
That's right. You know, we tell all the CPAs we deal with, because our company deals with a lot of CPAs. Why CPAs? Because they have the clients, because they have the business people, just like you have, just like everybody on this call has. The CPA is no different, right? But before you blow it off, do what I said. Take all your friends, take all your contacts, and say, hey, this one has 100 employees, this one has 20 employees, this one has 40 employees. Total up the amount of employees, and see the kind of monies that for you that you can make by helping them and helping the employees.
All right. Well, Rick, you started, a good presentation. Anybody have any questions for Rick? All right. Well, thank you, Rick, for volunteering.
That was my presentation, Howard.
And also, and Tom, Tom does have a point. We got to remember that the month of May is actually Disability Insurance Awareness Month. Not just for the owners, but also for the employees. I have a lot of people who go, I don't want the short-term disability, but I'll take the long-term disability. So basically what it is you don't want to get paid for 8 weeks. And they're like, what do you mean? Well, you're going to go 8 weeks without a paycheck, and then your long-term disability will kick in. So how are you going to pay your bills in those 8 weeks? And they don't quite understand. A lot of people don't understand how disability insurance actually works. They just look at that as another line item on their payroll and on their paycheck of deductions. And things are extremely tight right now. And we all know that if things get tight, they're going to start dropping things they don't think they'll need right away. And it's not if, it's when, because you will have an accident at some time in your life, either while you're working or not working. So you really gotta protect yourself and protect you as the owner of the establishment as well.
But
I know we don't have a lot of business owners here. Go ahead, Steve. Go ahead, Chris.
But it is available for people at any age. Is that true?
As far as I understand, I mean, I'm sure it endows at a certain aspect, and I would have to look more into the age, but I'll definitely let you know, because every carrier that we represent is going to have different guidelines.
Yeah.
And so what we have to do is just like any other insurance that I offer, if I've got somebody that walks into my office and needs a specific type of life insurance, I'm not going to sell somebody who's 65 years old a $100,000 whole life insurance policy because they won't be able to afford it. So, but if I have somebody that walks in that's a little bit younger who's interested in about insurance, then I may offer that. So it's really going to depend on the carrier. It's going to depend on the underwriting questions. It's going to depend on the health questions. So, it's doing an individual disability insurance policy is not something you just walk in, sign a piece of paper, and you walk out with a policy. It doesn't work that way. It's not like car insurance or guaranteed issue life insurance. It's very, very stringent, a lot of questions, and it takes a little while to get it going. But it can be done. It's something that a lot of owners have put on the back burner. And what Tom said and what I said is because of the cost behind it, and because it's extremely expensive, but it needs to be looked at.
Is it easier to get short-term insurance, easier to get long-term insurance?
Well, if you're talking about short-term and long-term disability, that usually ends up being as a group enrollment benefit. And short-term disability, long-term disability to group benefit is a guaranteed issue because it's a voluntary benefit. The only time you've got to go through a underwriting is if you're purchasing an individual policy, kind of like an individual life policy.
Yeah, but I mean, in my
When I-
company, the group is less than two.
Well,
So,
yeah, I mean, the thing is if you look at an individual disability policy for yourself and you're a group of one, then at the same time, you still have overhead, okay? I mean, I've got to make sure that the bills for the business get paid. I gotta pay the mortgage on the office or the rent on the office.
yeah,
You know, for instance, Chris, I mean, you know, you got property insurance.
yeah,
You know, who goes out and says, when the roof's on fire, I want to buy property insurance? You'd be
right.
surprised. I had a lady last week call me in the hospital. I need hospital insurance. I need health insurance. Oh, okay. Did you think about that before? No. Well, I was employed, but luckily she was still within her 63-day time where she could get her COBRA. So luckily she was able to get the COBRA, but that's when people buy the insurance is when they need it the most.
Yeah.
And Rick, when I owned a sheet metal business, we had long-term and short-term insurance for our employees that we picked up. And the policy that we had, it was a sort of a group policy, but they looked at each individual person. And I remember a couple of people got denied.
Okay, so that goes into what we call an EOI, evidence of insurability. So if an individual does not enroll at the time of open enrollment and then wants the disability insurance later, then they have to fill out evidence of insurability. The only time it's guaranteed issue is during open enrollment. But yes, you're correct, Ed. You do have to do an EOI. We've had to do that at our office before. You know, somebody who has been working there for several years and never took it and now wants it, then you got to do an EOI. And it's usually upon their when they first start working there, new employees.
Okay. Any other questions for Rick?
Yeah, one thing I neglected to say, guys, and Terry, is that if you were thinking of making these types of introductions from your clients, from your friends to our company, even though it's an insurance type product, you do not need an insurance license to get paid. So there's no license needed or anything.
So Tom, am I understanding that on the product you sell or offer, you don't need an insurance license?
No, you do not need an insurance license.
Okay, on my end, you do.
Well, you need an insurance license for the person who makes the actual presentation to the client, they need an insurance license.
Yeah.
But for the people like you who might be doing the referral to the company, they
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay. Again, Rick, thanks for the conversation. Thanks for the good information. Wish I would have heard it 30 years ago.
Yeah. Ditto.
30 years ago, I was still young and stupid. Now I'm just old and stupid.
No, you're far from stupid.
That's my line.
That's no.
All
No.
right. Let's do our intros real quick. Brian, start us off.
Good morning, everybody. Brian with the Rogue Financial Group. We are a commercial equipment financing company. We've been around for several years. I've been in the industry for going almost 20 years. I primarily focus on the hospitality side, which is restaurants. And we talked a little bit about breweries, bars, convenience stores, other things that contain to hospitality or equipment. I do other industries also. But again, we are a commercial equipment financing company, small to large projects. We also will work with startups and work all over the country. And I can be reached at 404-723 7222. And that's it. Thanks.
In this economy, are you seeing more people looking for money or less people looking for money?
That's a good question. A little bit of both. People I think are still on the edge. People are looking. Um, Credit's still kind of not the greatest right now. I get a lot of projects that people don't always tell me the truth until I look into their credit, and got one this past week that I don't know how you accomplish this, but had 335 days, 90-day lates. That won't get you very far.
335 90-day lates?
Yeah, yeah. And he's buying a franchise, and I'm like going, really? Okay. And I was like, had to break the news to him that, that your business partner can't be on this thing. So, but yeah, it's still a challenge. It really is. Yeah, it's still, people still are coming up with their own money to pay for stuff. It's just, I don't know. I don't know where they're getting it, but to answer your question, it's up and down. So I just deal with it and go from there. And when I finance it, I hope and pray they continue to pay.
So Brian, let me ask you a question. What happens on your end as the leaseor if somebody stops making payments? I mean, obviously can you go and just repo the equipment?
It depends on certain situations. It depends. Has a lot to do with the landlord allowing you to go on their property. Other things depends on the amount that they finance. If we're looking at 25,000, we're not going to go and try to repo it, but just because of legal and going through all that. But when you start getting to 50 to 75, then that gets real serious there. Or hate to say it, restaurateurs will do a hit and run at night and load up a U-Haul and take off with equipment, and then they're off they go.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's there is a lot of defaults. Knock on wood. The clients I have worked with have not really had many defaults. I really have not had many lately. So which is good. I try to stay in front of my clients, and if they do get in some financial trouble, I try to figure out a way to work it out with them, and go from there. Because the worst thing you want them to do is just totally default on the loan. Then it doesn't look good. So,
Well, we all know that there are people who do default on their loan. Do you have the right to go in and take back what you financed? And if you do, wouldn't you be working with an auction?
we do have the right to go repo it, but a lot of times landlords will fight us on it about going on their property. I mean, you have to get the proper okay from them, and a lot of them will just not allow you to go get it. They'll go, well, hey, I got another guy who wants that restaurant. There's equipment there, Hey, you can take the restaurant. But people don't realize that there's a UCC filing on that. So if landlord, whoever wants to try to resell that, I mean, it really belongs to the bank if it's defaulted, because there's a filing on it until you pay it off, whether you do it early or you pay it off, you follow through with the loan all the way through. So, but yeah, some landlords can be very tough.
I will say that at Sheet Metal Company, we filed notice to owner on almost every project in Florida. And I learned from experience that even if you filed a default where the money was owed to you, if you tried to go on that property to get that material out of there, you'd go to jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you got to work through the courts on that. You just can't go and repossess something.
Yeah. And Ed's right, but you're also asking about other things. I've kind of been kind of picky on some of the deals I've been working with, because last year I did some financing for a guy, got his driver's license, got all of his information, all his stuff. It's a pretty good sized deal. It was actually here in Atlanta. He wouldn't default on it. And he was telling the bank he didn't sign the contracts. I'm like, okay, you didn't sign the contracts? You did sign the contracts. The DocuSigns went to you. You signed them. You gave me your bank account. So when he decided to close his restaurant, he was trying to tell the bank that he didn't sign the contracts. So, especially in the hospitality, there's a lot of squirrely stuff that goes on. So,
But those DocuSigns are legal documents.
yeah, they are. They are. They
Okay.
are. But he
'Cause
went off his merry way, and I don't mind telling it because it's closed. Chris might know who they are, but they had 2 locations, one by the airport called Junior's Pizza, and I don't mind telling the name because they're closed. And
Was the other one on North Druid Hills Road?
huh?
Was the other Juniors on North Druid Hills Road?
No, it was over there at Summer Hill by the old Atlanta Stadium. Yeah, but yeah,
All right. Well, hopefully you don't get a lot of those.
no, but
I was going to ask Steve about that, but you answered the question about the right of a landlord to go in to stop you from
But
going.
it does sting when somebody faults on you. So, yeah,
All right. Thanks, Brian.
yeah.
Steve, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Steve Whitehill. I own Anchor Business Brokers, and I help people buy and sell businesses, as I'm sure by now you all know. I looked it up this morning. We have about 2,200 listings of all sorts, of which 500 are restaurants in the state of Florida, which means about 25% of all the businesses for sale are restaurants. And I was just looking at something, and it was like 20% of those are Italian restaurants for sale. So it's kind of interesting. But just to give you an example of what's for sale, I picked up, here's a Mexican restaurant. It does $1.6 million in sales. It's in revenues. It makes just a little over 350,000. And it's selling for 800,000. So it's generally speaking in the right market. It isn't that bad.
Bless you.
Just
I thought it was
coughed up another tumor.
Nice.
Palm trees behind them.
No,
Anyway, the interesting thing about this is, although the price of the restaurant is 800, the true price is $1.1 million because there's some land involved, and they're not selling the restaurant without the land. But actually, that may make it an easier finance proposition because banks love real estate. They lose money all the time in real estate, but for some reason, they feel better if there's real estate involved. And if it's over 50%, it means that, which it is in this case, it means that the loan, instead of being a 10-year loan, it's really probably going to be a 25-year loan, which means the actual payment might not be any more on a monthly basis than you would pay for the $800,000 restaurant. So it's actually a pretty good deal. So anyway, that's an example of what you can buy. And this is Whitehill Anchor Business Brokers. I can be reached at 561-376-7500. And my email address is steve@anchorbb.com.
Hey, Steve, I have a quick question for you. You mentioned Italian restaurants. You think that, I guess probably casual or fine dining, whatever. You think that industry is saturated?
I think and it's hard for me to say, but I think in general the restaurant industry is saturated.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's and I don't know that Italian restaurants are any more than less. I tend to like Italian restaurants. My rule with restaurants is simple restaurants tend to stick around. It's the very fancy ones that don't.
Yeah.
It's because when people go to fancy restaurants, they're looking for fine cuisine, and they're always looking for something new. And it's hard to stay ahead of the pack in that kind of an environment. I mean, some people succeed, but very few do.
Yeah.
Where an Italian restaurant, you're generally looking for some nice food, pleasant environment, and you're fine with it. So I like breakfast and lunch places for the same reason. And
Yeah.
Italian restaurants and pizza places fall within that category. I think are much easier to deal with a much longer lifespan and a greater
Hmm.
chance of success.
Well, that's probably real quick, probably why in Alpharetta, there's probably about 11 restaurants there. Not, you don't know until you talk to somebody that are on the market that wants to sell. It's probably a lot of them are high end. I would not say high end, but not pretty pricey restaurants. You probably wouldn't go every day, you
Right.
know, and it just that that's probably a saturated area where you go there and you're totally confused on, well, do I go to this one? Do I go to this one? Do I go to the pizza place? Do I go? So I think that you know, unless you have you have a lot of money, you can go to these places and
I think just if you look at how you eat personally, I mean,
yeah,
today I'm going out for lunch with somebody, a potential client, and the truth is, then I'll look for something nicer. But just as often, I'm going to take a simple, let's get a
yeah,
hamburger and go because I'm not interested in the quality of the food. I'm not trying to impress. I'm just trying to have a meeting and go forth.
sure, I
Uh,
understand it.
and I think that's, when you go out with your wife, unless you're going out with another couple and you want to
Yeah,
do something special, you're also going to look for something. When I say basic, I don't mean it's going to be bad food. I mean, it can be great food, but it's not going
hmm,
to be a fancy ass restaurant,
yeah,
typically.
yeah,
Um, I just that's just my opinion. It's my observation. I've no statistics to back that up or anything else, but that's
hmm.
Steve's theory on life, as it
Okay,
were. You
all
can
right,
either agree or disagree. I'm good.
yeah, that's all right. Thanks, Steve.
All
You
right,
got
thanks. Let's move on to Ed. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ed Gerton with Seco Sales. We're an equipment supply company that specializes in frozen dessert equipment. We're located in Orange Park, Florida, which is outside of Jacksonville. So we have soft serve machines from Carpigiani, uh, batch freezers from Carpigiani, BGI Industries, display cases from ESA, GTI Design and IFI. We have mixed treat machines, hot chocolate machines, drink machines from V-Air. You can reach me at 904-334-4489. Thank you.
Did you get that article I sent you yesterday about that?
Yeah, and I looked at that. I know who they are, Howard. They buy their ice cream, and it's American style ice cream. They're buying it from a wholesaler
No, but
of
the
some
other
kind.
one, I sent you one, something with Carpigiani has a touchless.
Oh, that article. Yeah, that's actually out of the Carpigiani United Kingdom.
Yeah,
That whole article, and I am aware of what they're trying to do. In this country, we have issues with that because the Ollie company recently bought Well-Built, and Well-Built makes a lot of that kind of stuff, and they don't particularly want to.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, they just don't want to screw around with somebody trying to market stuff that they're marketing direct to people,
Right,
if I could say it that way.
right. I got you.
But it's an opportunity because I've talked to somebody about it yesterday.
All right.
So
thanks.
thank you.
Let's go to Mel.
Yeah, and good morning, everybody. And don't forget, it's Mother's Day, of course. I'm sure nobody will forget that, but don't forget to possibly bring a pie to dinner on Mother's Day. And so my company, or Andrew's company, my son, is the Concord Grape Pie Company. And we're relatively a startup. We've been going for about 5 months now and making great progress. learning about the restaurant industry. You know, we've got a good background in the fruit and vegetable industry. We're members of the national organizations like the PMA, you know, the Produce Marketing Association, the United Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Association. And I'm finding out in the restaurant business, how many of you folks, by just a show of hands, are a member of the American Culinary Federation? I see no hands going up. And so we've joined this organization. There are 13 chapters in Florida, and I'm sure in all the states there are chapters as well. This organization, the American Culinary Federation, is the standard of excellence for chefs. And it's really paying big dividends for us. So we joined of the 13 different organizations, just alphabetically, in Central Florida. There's the Gulf to the Lake Chefs and Cooks Association. Then there's the Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard counties. You know, that's mid-Florida, East Coast. And then there's Fort Lauderdale, the Broward County, Jacksonville, Miami. I'm just reading down. Naples, Marco, Fort Myers, Orlando, Pensacola, Tampa, and so forth. And so we joined the one West Palm Beach, and in each of the these chapters, if you will, there's different kinds of membership: professional members, vendor members, associate members, gastronomy members. Didn't pronounce that right, but at any rate, and it's paid dividends. We went to, you know, the West Palm Beach one where we quickly learned Jeff Sims was the chapter president, and Jeff is at the Breakers. He's the main chef there. So we had an opportunity in that particular one chapter. There were monthly meetings they do, and I'm sure all the other chapters do the same thing. In February, they were at the Abaco Golf Club. March, Cheney Brothers. April, Jack Scalisi Wholesale Fruit and Vegetable. And in May, Bush Brothers. And in June, the last one, I guess before the summer, is Culinary Creations at Wycliffe Golf and Country Club. And so we, by joining this organization, we were able to, the Bush Brothers, which was just this past couple of days ago, they had their meeting at their provision place, their meat providers, beautiful operation. And they allowed us to have a booth there where we brought our pies in and gave away some mini pies. There were about 70 members came, and of the 70, probably 40 were the chief chefs for all the country clubs in the area in Palm Beach. So what great connections we got. We're now making our calls, to call and get to go out to each one, and hopefully they'll become our customers as well. So I just kind of want to spend a few moments. Maybe that's of some help for some of you to possibly find some potential customers for your aspect of the industry. So that's why I wanted to share with you. You'll find us, by the way, tomorrow. Andrew is busy. He's not on today. He's busy baking for the big weekends. We've been selling out at the farmers markets. We really made a beautiful impact there. We'll be in Delray tomorrow morning from 9 to 2. And then they opened up a brand new one, Howard, on Glades behind the fish house, up by the Hilton over there. And they're already, this is just could be their third Sunday. Will be their Sunday. They already have over close to 50 vendors there. Huge success we had last week, sold out again.
I want to keep moving on here. Mel, how do we reach you?
Yeah, 954 684-6881. And of course, our website, the ConcordGrapePieCompany.com. Thanks,
Okay.
Howard.
Thank you. Chris.
Good morning, everybody. Chris Kaufman, Restaurant All Stars. We recruit aces for great places and have been doing that wonderful business since the 1980s. Restaurant All Stars, 404 All Star. Thank you very much.
Okay, TRN Terry, quick.
Good morning, everyone.
That was quick.
Not difficult, Terry. You can do it.
Honestly, just email me, terry@trnusa.com. Have a wonderful weekend.
We don't know what you do.
I sell lead reports. I will tell you what's opening from the Panhandle to Key West. I will give you the owners' names, phone numbers, email addresses, everything else in between.
And a pie.
And a pie.
And bye, yeah.
Pie. And a pie.
Cutie pie. All right. Great. Rick, thanks again for your presentation. And we'll see you all next week. Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Okay.
And we're not going to meet on Memorial Day weekend.
That's your
Okay.
birthday, Howard.
No, it's a week before. All right. See you next week. Have a great week. Let the
Okay,
sauce be with you.
bye.
Okay.
Hey,